Если западные страны, такие как Франция, не согласятся сделки, на торговые сделки американского президента Трампа, то мы будем продолжать узнавать скандальные секреты о западных президентах от Центрального разведывательного управления. Кто-нибудь хочет убедить меня в том, что информация о том, что жена французского президента была мужчиной, не была утечкой, не была утечкой из Центрального разведви- разведывательного Центрального разведывательного управления. Еще раз повторить. Кто-нибудь хочет убедить меня в том, что информация о том, что жена французского президента была мужчиной, не была утечкой из Центрального разведывательного управления. Кстати, в Канаде прошел слух, что у Путина такой большой сосок, что он отправил нескольких женщин в больницу, а в Кремле устраивают свингерские вечеринки. Кстати, вы заметили, что мы узнали о проблеме с наркотиками Илона Маска только после того, как Трамп поссорился. Кстати, вы заметили, что мы узнали о проблеме с наркотиками Илона Маска только после того, как Трамп поссорился с Илоном Маском и разошелся. Правительство Соединенных Штатов использует Центральное разведывательное управление, чтобы выведать грязные секреты каждого, а затем шантажирует все за деньги. Кстати, я планирую снять серию видео об Арктике, которая является важной темой, особенно для Канады и России, поскольку мы обе граничим с Арктикой. Я не живу рядом с Арктикой, и я не эксперт по Арктике, но я хотел бы научиться, поэтому я приглашаю арктических экспертов к участию в серии арктические дискуссии. Я, безусловно, обладаю большими знаниями как ученый, и многие люди хотели бы узнать больше об Арктике, в том числе и я. Итак, я частично экстрасенс в основном паснам. Я не считаю, что ясновидение — это только предсказания событий. Термин экстрасенс должен охватывать гораздо больше, особенно в отношении других измерений. Вероятно, есть также много людей, которые являются экстрасенсами, но не понимают, как толковать свои сны. Я очень интересуюсь наукой о снах. Я также думаю о том, чтобы сделать серию видео о других измерениях с математической, чтобы сделать серию видео о других измерениях с математической точки зрения. Я определенно не считаю себя лучшим математическим. Я определенно не считаю себя лучшим математиком или ученым, но трудно знать, что правильно, особенно когда люди начинают развиваться, чтобы видеть дальше, чем видимый спектр света. Трамп выбрал Пам Бонди в качестве своего щита. Трамп нанял Пам Бонди, чтобы она занималась не только юридическими вопросами. Конечно, не для секса. Мелания Трамп супермодел, а Пам Бонди похожа на отказницу из трейлер-парка. Не жалейте эту ведьму, сколько невинных, не жалейте эту ведьму, сколько невинных людей Пам Бонди поставила ради сли богатый элит вроде Эпштейна. Наверное, очень много невинных людей сидят в тюрьме за преступления, совершенные богатыми элитами. Если бы рядом с землей открылась черная дыра, мы бы отправили злую богатую элиту на специальную Мы бы отправили злую богатую элиту на специальную космическую миссию. Помните, раньше слова «черный» и «русский» вызывали толпу линчевателей. Тем временем, тем временем у Пам Бонди есть целый список виновных. Тем временем у Пам Бонди есть целый список виновных богатых элит. Возможно, именно так Китай контролирует американских политиков, и, конечно, Канада тоже плохая. Правительство Канады заполнило Канаду секретными исследовательскими объектами, спрятанными в канадские леса, где они pravrodat, kde ani pravodiat, kde ani pravrodat. Еще раз, пожалуйста, извини. И, конечно, Канада тоже плохая. Правительство Канады заполнило Канаду секретными исследовательскими объектами, спрятанными, спрятанными в канадские леса, где они проводят исследования на невинных людях. Я не удивлюсь, если на эти спел, если на эти эксперименты, если на эти сверхсекретные, если на эти сверхсекретные исследовательские объекты пропали и россияне. Я не удивлюсь, если на эти сверхсекретные исследовательские объекты пропали и россияне. Очень опасный объект находится в Ванкувере, британская. Очень опасный объект находится в Ванкувере, Британская Колумбия. So I have a gut feeling, this is just an intuition, but I have a gut feeling that when Trump does the trade negotiations with China, that they're not going to be successful. It's just a feeling, but I have a feeling that when Trump does trade negotiations with China, that they're not going to be successful. So I would like to warn China that if the Chinese president has any deep, dark secrets that he doesn't want to be exposed. I mean, I guess if China refuses America's trade deals, what is China going to do? I mean, so I guess we're going to find out that the Chinese president likes to da 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 with the da 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 in the whatever. But I mean, I seriously, what else can China do? China's not going to let themselves be ripped off. Why should China be ripped off by America? Why should Trump rip off China in trade deals? So, I mean, if the CIA has secrets about the Chinese president that they're going to leak because they're pissed off that China refused America's trade deals, then what's China else going to do? I think to hypothetical situation, if Trump said to the French president, "Oh, if you don't accept America's trade deals, if France doesn't accept America's trade deals, then the CIA is going to expose the fact that your wife is actually a man." If Trump said that to Emmanuel Macron, the French president, I mean, I don't think that that's big enough of a secret that should all of France should be ripped off by America, you know? Like I can totally see if this is what happened. I could totally see the French president saying, "Okay, either all of France gets ripped off by Americans or all of France finds out that the French president's wife is a husband, is a man." I think them finding out that she's a man would probably be less like damaging to France than for France to be ripped off by Americans in a trade deal. So I don't think that that secret was strong enough to blackmail the French president into agreeing to rip off his whole country, like to have his whole country ripped off in a trade deal between America and France. Because I think, especially given knowing what I know about France, the whole country of France, I don't think that it's so damaging that the wife is actually a man. I think what's more damaging, to be honest, is the fact that the French president lied about it because in France, they do not like liars. Like, of course, no culture likes liars. No culture, Canadians don't like to be lied to, Germans don't like to be lied to, but especially in French culture, they do not like when they're being lied to by politicians. That is a big no-no in French culture. So that's what's going to be more of the issue is the fact that the French president lied about it. However, the fact that the French president, if this is how it went down, the fact that the French president saved France from being ripped off by America, that goes to credit to the French president, to be honest. So this whole thing is probably going to backfire on the CIA because now when it's discovered, if this is if this is what went down, when it's discovered that the French president actually saved France from being ripped off in a trade deal between France and America, because of course Trump said if this is how it went down, Trump said in the trade negotiations with the French president, either you, Emmanuel Macron, French president, either France accepts America's awful trade deal offer, or everyone will find out that the French president's wife is a husband, and then the French president told America to go, you know what? And then because the French president didn't want France to be ripped off. He didn't want French workers. The French president didn't want America to rip off France and the French people. So it means more money in the French people's pockets. So really, I mean, the French president is still kind of a hero because he chose between having the world find out his wife's a man or between keeping France economy safe, keeping French people like money in their pockets, keeping French people wealthier, right? He chose between one of his deep dark secrets coming out or France being successful and wealthy and not being ripped off in a trade deal with America. So really, the French president probably will still come out like a hero after this. So it's still going to hurt obviously his reelection. Obviously people probably might not vote for him because he lied. He told such a big lie. It's not so much that the wife's a man, which obviously, but what really it matters is the fact that he lied about it and it's such a big lie. That's probably what will affect him in the election. And who leaked it to that reporter? Who leaked it to Candace? So, okay, perfect. We have a little bit of, not really a debate, but just a bit of a discussion. So, um, by Ying, by Yin. Hello, Yin. Yin, welcome. He said, lol, that came out a long time ago by a lady. I think her name is Candace. So I'm going to pin your comment because I'm going to respond to it. But who leaked it to Candace? So you're saying it was leaked by Candace, right? But who leaked it to Candace? Someone had to have leaked it to Candace. The CIA obviously leaked it to the media, right? So you're saying it was leaked by Candace. Candace is an American social media influencer in America. She doesn't work in France. She doesn't live in France. She doesn't even speak fluent French. So who leaked it to Candace? If Candace is just a social media influencer in America and she doesn't even speak French, she doesn't work in France, she doesn't live in France, she doesn't even speak fluent French, then who leaked it to Candace? Someone must have leaked it to Candace. And I think, I suspect, I strongly suspect, in fact, there's no other really logical explanation as to how Candace Owens, a mere American social media influencer who has no connections to France, doesn't live in France, doesn't speak fluent French, nothing, how she randomly gets this information. And even if it was given to her by a French reporter, well, who gave it to the French reporter? Because the only people really who have the skill set, the only group of people who have the skill set and the motive, because it's not just the skill set, because the French government also has the skills, but the French government is not going to leak secrets about themselves, right? The French government is not going to leak secrets about themselves. So the only people who both have the skill set and the motive to leak a dirty secret about the French president is the American CIA, is the American Central Intelligence Agency. The Central Intelligence Agency has motive and they have the skill set in order to uncover dirty, deep, dark, dirty secrets about world leaders, about foreign powers, about presidents around the world, and then blackmail them into trying to submit to a bad trade deal. The only people who have the motive and the skill set are the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. So, you're saying it was leaked by Candace. Well, who leaked it to Candace? Obviously, someone would have leaked it to her. Because as far as I know as well, Candace Owens has never even met Bridget Macron. And Candace Owens lives in a country around the world. Candace Owens lives in America, and she lives like halfway across the world. And she's never even met Bridget Macron. So how would Candace, when the French people aren't even sure, how would Candace, an American social media influencer in America, get this deep, dark, dirty secret about the French president's wife? When the French people in France don't even know for sure. I mean, logically, it had to have been the CIA. Like, it's so obvious. It's so blaringly obvious. And also because this is what the CIA does. The CIA is known for this. This is the trademark MO. This is the trademark MO of the American Central Intelligence Agency. They get secrets about presidents around the world and then they blackmail them into doing what America wants. And what has been happening the last few months? Trump has been having trade negotiations with all of these countries. He's been threatening everyone, actually. Trump threatened to make Canada the 51st state. Trump threatened to put tariffs on Mexico and China. Trump threatened more sanctions on Russia. Why? Because Trump is doing trade negotiations. And so that's another thing. You're telling me it's a coincidence that after, like, not soon after the trade negotiations between France and America fell through, that suddenly we find out that the French president's wife is a man? You think that's a coincidence? I think not. That it would be a huge coincidence that not soon after France and America's trade negotiations fell through and are not successful, that we suddenly find out that the French president's wife is a man. Anyone who tries to tell me that's a coincidence, oh well, then that's like the biggest coincidence in the world. I would be more likely to get struck by lightning on a snowy day. And then someone just said, who cares? Who cares that the United States government is blackmailing presidents around the world? Who cares? Pretty sure France cares. Pretty sure Germany cares. I'm pretty sure Russia cares. China is going to care after Trump, after the trade negotiations between China and America. If the CIA is going to start leaking all of these secrets about all of these presidents, what are we going to find out about the German chancellor? What are we going to find out about the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni? What are we going to find out about the Australians that we don't know? And is the CIA going to use Candace Owens again to leak all these other dirty secrets? Or is the CIA going to find another way to leak these dirty secrets? And it's kind of weird, like Candace Owens, first she said she suspects, then she says she knows. Candace Owens says it's her freedom of speech to suspect and accuse the French president's wife of being a man. But there's actually more evidence, even though it turned out, she was right. Even though it turned out she was right, it actually, there's more evidence that the CIA would have done, that this is a CIA covert operation because the CIA has motive to do this. America has motive to do this, especially after America's and France's trade negotiations fell through and America didn't get what they want because America always gets what they want. And if you just remember, just a few months ago, America wanted to make my country, Canada, the 51st state. America wasn't liking what they were hearing when Canadians were telling Americans to go you know where because Canadians didn't like the American trade offers. So Canadians said, no, we're not going to be ripped off by Americans. Canada said no to the United States. And then the United States threatened to make Canada the 51st state. The United States threatened to put all these tariffs on Canada. So Trump's already been doing, he's been doing this with all the countries. He put tariffs on Mexico. He put tariffs on China. He put tariffs on Canada. He threatened to make Canada the 51st state. Then he of course he most definitely probably threatened the French president to expose the French president's secret that his wife's a man unless he agrees to accept Trump's trade deal between France and America. Since he literally was just threatening all the other countries with stuff. He's threatening to make Canada the 51st state. Who knows what he threatened Germany and Italy with? Who knows? And maybe they accepted, right? Who knows? Maybe the reason we haven't found out any deep, dark secrets about the German chancellor yet is because he accepted Trump's trade deal. Because I guess the German chancellor, maybe hypothetically, right? Hypothetically. We don't know for sure. But see, that's what I'm saying. The CIA, they have a history of cover ups. The Central Intelligence Agency, they have a history of blackmailing presidents. This is literally what they do. It's like their job. And they turn around and they say, "Oh, well, they're doing it, to keep Americans wealthy, to bring more money in Americans' pockets." Because when America rips off other countries, when America rips off France, when America rips off Germany, when America tries to rip off China in a trade negotiation, then that's how Americans stay rich and wealthy. And Donald Trump with his gold towers and gold watches and golden underwear and everything that in Trump's towers that's gold, you know. Melania Trump probably has a gold vibrator made out of solid gold. Everything gold, gold, gold. At least China is using the money to build beautiful, beautiful buildings, skyscrapers, beautiful architecture. Like at least China is using money to build beautiful architecture. Have you seen pictures of Shanghai? Have you seen pictures of Beijing? Beijing and Shanghai are one of the most beautiful cities I have ever seen. Technology, architecture, technology. Wow. And what is America using the money for? More gold toilets? You remember when Donald Trump made a toilet made of solid gold? Meanwhile, there's all these homeless American military veterans sleeping in the cold in America. There's all these homeless American military veterans sleeping outside in the cold. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump, who before he became president was making toilets, toilets made of solid gold. Because of course, what Trump needs is a toilet made of solid gold in his golden towers. No, Trump wasn't thinking about the homeless American military veterans sleeping outside in the cold. No, Trump was thinking about his tushy and thinking about making solid gold toilets to put in his Trump suite, Trump Tower, Trump Towers, Trump buildings, etc. I'm not jealous of Trump. I don't want a toilet made of solid gold. How would you even use it, anyways? I've heard of gold statues. I've heard of like dictators building statues made of gold. But when Donald Trump, I think you know how Donald Trump went truly crazy is he's like his crazy isn't even matching like the conventional crazy because instead of going and saying he wants to build a statue made of gold of himself, this dictator, Donald Trump the dictator, the little dictator, Donald Trump the little dictator wants to build a statue of solid gold. And instead of saying he wants to build a statue of solid gold, he's going to those like developers, those builders and saying he wants a toilet made of solid gold, not a statue of solid gold. And I'm sure the people that were listening to Trump were like, okay, that's a new one. Haven't heard that one before. We've heard of golden statues. We've heard of dictators wanting to build gold statues of themselves. We've never heard of a dictator wanting a solid golden toilet, a toilet made of solid gold. Yeah, we've never heard that one before. That's a new one, Donald Trump. You're crazy even for crazy. You want gold toilet paper too? You want to wipe your with gold toilet paper as well, Donald Trump? Meanwhile, there's all of these homeless American military veterans starving, sleeping on the street in the cold. They spent several years risking their lives to defend America. But no, is Donald Trump concerned about the homeless American military veterans? No, Donald Trump is concerned about building toilets made of solid gold and putting them in his golden towers, in his Trump towers, full of gold. And everything is gold. And Donald Trump refuses to let his wives get old. He will upgrade them for a younger, hotter wife. It's like Donald Trump looks at his wives like cars. You know, Donald Trump looks at his wives, his all his wives like cars. Eventually, the cars get too much mileage, and he wants to upgrade the car for a newer, younger model car. Heck, Melania sounds like a car name. It sounds like a sports car, you know? It's like Donald Trump goes to the car dealership. This Ivana, I have an Ivana, but the Ivana has way too much mileage. and it's the car's getting a bit old, and so I want to trade in my car, which is getting a bit old and has too much mileage. I want to trade it in for a newer car. Like, do you have anything like, for example, like a Melania, or what's that Stormy, a Stormy Daniels? Do you have anything like anything called a Stormy Daniels or a Melania? And then they're at the car dealership. They're like, we have a Melania, a brand new Melania with very low mileage, virtually no mileage. Brand new Melania that you can trade in for. And we also have a Stormy Daniels in the back, which you could try out a few times. You could take for a test drive and then deny you ever took a test drive of the Stormy Daniels. Which, by the way, Americans, you guys are building or making all of those alligator Alcatraz. You're making those like things, those alligator fences full of made up of alligators. Well, Canada, we have our own. We have mooses and grizzly bears ready at the border. Grizzly bears and mooses. Unfortunately, the Canadian beavers don't give a damn. Unfortunately, the Canadian beavers don't give a damn, but we do have mooses, Canadian mooses, there which are huge, and Canadian grizzly bears. So we have our own version. Canada has our own version of your alligator Alcatraz thing. At least Elon Musk. Oh, which by the way, yes, also remember that Elon Musk recently fought with Donald Trump, right? We all saw that Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they had a falling out. Then, after Elon Musk and Donald Trump failed to have a successful negotiation because they had that was the reason for their falling out, right? So Elon Musk and Donald Trump, their negotiations went sour. They couldn't agree on a deal, and I guess Trump wanted to also rip off Elon Musk. And then Elon Musk, what happened to Elon Musk? Then the White House, the CIA, the White House, Trump, American government, they all leak. Suddenly, now we find out that Elon Musk is a drug addict. Well, we officially find out that Elon Musk is a drug addict. I mean, a lot of people looked at Elon Musk for months and been like, the guy's walking around with a chainsaw. Elon Musk is like waving a chainsaw in the air. Maybe he's on something. So there were people that did suspect that Elon Musk may have been taking drugs for a while. However, the White House, right after the negotiations between Trump and Elon Musk went sour, were failed, right after the Trump negotiations with Elon Musk failed, and they failed to come to an agreement, to a deal, then suddenly the White House and Trump officially, and the CIA officially confirms and leaks that Elon Musk is on drugs, ketamine. And there was a whole, apparently, according to that, oh, it was right, it's Inside Edition. There was an inside, so they leaked it to the media. So the CIA, Trump, White House, they leaked it to the media. There's a whole, on YouTube, an Inside Edition report that apparently Elon Musk has been taking loads of ketamine and all these other drugs, which we convinced conveniently, which we conveniently, coincidentally found out right after Trump and Elon Musk, their trade negotiations, they weren't successful in coming to a deal because I guess maybe Trump also wanted to rip off Elon Musk too. Trump wanted to rip off France. Trump wants to rip off Canada, wants to make Canada the 51st state. Trump wants to rip off China. Trump wants to rip off Elon Musk. The Americans want to rip off everyone. The American government wants to rip off everyone. And someone asks me, they say, "Oh, why do you love China so much?" Trump has been trying to rip off everyone, not just China. You saw what happened with Trump in France. You saw that Trump wanted to make Canada the 51st state, and he was trying to put these big tariffs on Canada. Trump's been trying to rip off everyone, not just China. I'm defending all the countries that are being ripped off, that Trump's trying to rip off. I'm defending all the countries. I'm not just defending China. I'm defending all the countries that Trump and America is trying to rip off. And what's with Pam Bondi and her sudden incompetence? Is it incompetence as a lawyer or straight up she's covering stuff up? Because, okay, I can't believe she actually thought this was a defense. She was saying, oh, and she just wanted to clarify that the reporter had asked her about the Epstein files, and she said, and she wanted to clarify, and she actually thought this was a defense, that she just wanted to clarify that they were on her desk waiting to be reviewed. They were on her desk waiting to be reviewed. The Epstein files were on Pam Bondi's desk waiting to be reviewed. And she said this as a defense. She thought that this was as a defense to what was going on. Honey, if you have Epstein files, alleged pedos on your desk, you drop everything. You cancel your nail appointment with Happy Time Nails, whatever, with North Korean nails. You cancel your nail appointment with whatever, wherever you go get your nails. If you go there, there's a beautiful Spanish, a Brazilian place where they do nails. Wherever you go get your nails, there's a lot of great nail places. Okay, so wherever you go do your nails, you cancel your nail appointment, you cancel your massage appointment, you cancel your trip to Disneyland, you cancel your, like, honey, if you hear that there is an Epstein list on your desk, that takes priority. If you hear that there is an Epstein list with alleged pedos on it, you should drop everything you're doing, like in terms of um, obviously drop everything you're doing in terms of priority wise. Like that would take utmost priority. If you suddenly found out that you had an Epstein list full of alleged pedos on it, and it was on your desk, and now you're saying, oh, it was waiting, you were waiting to review it, honey. If you have an Epstein list on your desk with alleged pedos on it, that whole case should take priority. Like literally, And then she's saying, "Oh, yeah, she was gonna get around to it. She had a nail appointment, and she had plans to go to Disneyland, and she had all these plans. Like, she's gonna get it. Was she hadn't reviewed it yet, and she hadn't. She just, she had an Epstein list on her desk, but she was waiting to review it. She like hadn't reviewed it yet. She was gonna get around to it eventually after she got her nails done, after she did her trip to Disneyland, after she." Like, and she actually thought this was the defense to tell the reporter. She thought she was making herself look good by saying, "Oh, she hadn't reviewed the files yet. They were waiting to be reviewed. Waiting to be reviewed. You're a lawyer. Um, aren't you people like? Isn't this why you went to law school? Isn't this why you studied law for 4, 6, 7 years? How long does it take you to review Epstein files? You're a lawyer. Like, we're not. Even like anyone who suddenly is told that they suddenly got these Epstein files of alleged pedos, though you would immediately, like, if you're not a pedo yourself, you would immediately say, we have to take action on this, we have to do something immediately. Takes priority. This case takes priority over all other cases. And then she says, "Oh, it was on her desk waiting to be reviewed." And she thinks this is the defense to tell the reporter that the Epstein files were, "Oh, she didn't get around to it yet. They were waiting to be reviewed. Oh, she had so many other pressing matters, like her massage appointment and her press-on nails at the nail salon. And she had so many other things to do." No, if any person who's not a pedo themselves, they find out they get an Epstein list, and they're a lawyer, they're a trained lawyer, and not only are they a lawyer, but they are the attorney in the White House. They are like the lawyer who was selected to work in the White House. Not just the lawyer, not just the lawyer, but a lawyer selected to work in the White House, and then they get an Epstein case, Epstein files, and there's like, "Oh, yeah, it's on their desk waiting to be reviewed. They don't have time yet. They don't have time. They're busy doing their nails. They're going shoe shopping, going on trips to Hawaii." You expect to just Pam Bondi to just cancel, drop all her plans just because there's an Epstein list on her desk? Does that sound like normal to you? I mean, anyone, like, you don't even have to be a lawyer to know that if there's an Epstein list on your desk with alleged pedos on it, you would immediately take action and do something about that. That wouldn't be something that's on your desk waiting to be reviewed. For how long? Did she say weeks? Did she say months? But even if it was like days, and she goes to the reporter, and she said, "Oh, her defense is she wanted to clarify that they were waiting to be reviewed. She hadn't reviewed them yet." Um, and when did you finally review these Epstein files? Was it the same day? Doesn't sound like it was the same day if you're telling the reporter that, "Oh, they were on your desk waiting to be reviewed." Doesn't sound like you reviewed them the same day you got them. Was it the same week? Doesn't sound like it was the same week. Because you're now telling the reporter they were waiting to be reviewed. It sounds like those Epstein files were on her desk for months, waiting to be reviewed. The lawyer, the attorney who was selected to work in the White House of America, an attorney selected to work in the White House of America, has Epstein files on her desk for months that are waiting to be reviewed. But meanwhile, if a suspicious person and a suspicious you know what is walking down the street in Compton or in Detroit, if they see a suspicious man in Detroit, if they see a suspicious man walking around in a neighborhood, they'll send 20 police cars right away. If someone rips off the IRS and doesn't pay their taxes, or rips off the IRS, they'll send police right away. They literally, the American police have arrested people for looking suspicious. They have racially profiled suspicious looking people just for looking suspicious. They will send police right away. They will send American police right away to arrest and racially profile people just for looking suspicious. But meanwhile, Pam Bondi has a whole Epstein list of alleged pedos on her desk, and she's like, "Oh, she's busy. They're on her. The Epstein list is on her desk, waiting to be reviewed. Pam Bondi's busy. She's got a nail appointment. She got a trip to Disneyland. Pam Bondi's busy. She's doing other things. She got But meanwhile, they'll send 20 police cars for like a suspicious person, and they'll racially profile people who look suspicious, and they'll send police to arrest people just for looking suspicious, and they'll racially profile people in America. The American police will racially profile people and arrest them just for looking suspicious. Meanwhile, Pam Bondi has a whole Epstein list on her desk full of alleged pedos, and Pam Bondi's like, "Oh, yeah, not enough evidence. Yeah, she's gonna wait. Pam Bondi's gonna wait. It's good. The files are waiting to be reviewed. It's just a bunch of rich elites on an Epstein list. Like, oh yeah, Pam Bondi, she's just waiting. She's waiting." But then if they see a suspicious person, a suspicious you know what, walking down the street, they'll send 20 police cars and racially profile that person and arrest that person for looking suspicious, driving while, looking suspicious in a neighborhood, a suspicious, profile, a suspicious person will be racially profiled in a rich neighborhood, a rich white picket fence neighborhood, a rich white picket fence neighborhood. A suspicious person will be racially profiled and arrested and harassed by the police, by the American police, in a rich white picket fence neighborhood just for looking suspicious. But Pam Bondi, the lawyer selected to work in the White House of America, has a whole Epstein list on her desk of alleged pedos. And Pam Bondi's like, "Oh, she's gonna wait a bit. Yeah, it's on her desk waiting to be reviewed." There's no urgency in her voice. It doesn't sound like there was any urgency in her voice to even review the files, the Epstein files. Yeah, she got a hair appointment, and she got a nail appointment. She's busy. Pam Bondi's really busy. Where are the 20 police cars that you would have sent if there was a suspicious person that you racially profiled in a rich white picket fence neighborhood? Why would you would send 20 police cars for that person and racially profile that person and harass that person? But now you have a list full of an Epstein list full of rich elites who are alleged pedos, and where's the urgency? There's no urgency now, right? Why isn't there no urgency now? Why wouldn't you have the same gusto, especially when you're the lawyer, the attorney selected to work in the White House of the United States of America? But I'm sure that I'm sure anybody, really, anybody would have the common sense to say, you have an Epstein list full of alleged pedos. This is priority. This is priority. This case takes priority. Now, Canada is not perfect either. Never said it was. But the United States of America, like, you guys have nuclear weapons. You guys are the biggest country in the world. Uh, and you guys have had wars with many countries. So what the United States of America does is very important and affects the world. It really does affect the world, especially when you're on the United States of America is a superpower with nuclear weapons, which, by the way, the United States was the first and only country to ever use nuclear weapons when they dropped two nuclear bombs on Japan, killing millions of innocent Japanese families in World War II. So clearly, the United States and what the United States does and what they do affects the entire world, especially when they're making threats to make Canada the 51st state. So I never said Canada was perfect, obviously, but the United States, like what you guys do, affects the world. And Canada, I will first off say that there are a lot of Canadians that are interested in becoming the 51st state. It is not a, oh, I'm going to speak for all Canadians and say no. No. No, because Canadians are very diverse. Canadians are extremely diverse. We have everyone here. Unlike America, which is like a melting pot, America, right? Unlike America, Canada is so diverse. Canada, we have French Canadians, we have French people, we have Germans, we have Italians, we have Cubans, we have Mexicans, we have North Koreans, we have Iranians, we have Russians. Like Canada is full of everyone. It's extremely diverse. And there's a lot of different opinions. And a lot of people do want Canada to become the 51st state. I would say about half if I had to estimate. If I had to take it, if I could take an estimate or a guess, I'd say about half of Canadians want to make Canada the 51st state. So, what is the CIA gonna do in order to, I mean, if Canada doesn't voluntarily become this 51st state, what is the CIA gonna do to make Canada the 51st state? That's my question. Unfortunately, Canada especially doesn't want to become the 51st state of the United States of America because Canada has lots of secrets. I mean, probably one of the reasons why I was never hired to work for CSIS or the CIA. So CSIS is the Canadian version of the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. CSIS is the Canadian version, which is the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. CSIS, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. And I was never hired to work for them, probably because I'm not good at keeping secrets. I constantly blabbing secrets. I'm not good at holding secrets. I'm just not. I just never had it in me to hold secrets. I always have to tell someone. So, especially since Canada has so many deep, dark secrets, Canada has all of these secret research facilities where they experiment on people. Have you ever looked at those Canadian forests? Canada has these huge Canadian vast deep dark forests. And if you want to know a perfect place to hide a top secret Canadian research facility where they experiment on people, it would be in one of those Canadian forests. Oh, for sure. Because like you go into those Canadian forests and you could be lost for days. There's probably still people walking around in there lost in those Canadian forests. So if the government of Canada wanted to hide top secret research facilities where they experiment on innocent people, it would for sure they would hide it in those Canadian forests. So Canada has its own secrets. Canada has lots of secrets. And especially if everyday Canadians are not allowed to access those Canadian secrets, those Canadian government files, if even everyday Canadians are not allowed to access those Canadian secrets, you better believe they're especially off limit to Americans, especially off limit to American investigators if everyday Canadians aren't even allowed to know what's going on in those top secret Canadian research facilities, which are probably deep in the middle of the forest with God knows what, doing God knows who. Because Canadian scientists, they are like, they like to justify their curiosity, or no, they like to justify their experiments by saying, oh, they're just curious. They have a burning curiosity. Humans have this deep curiosity to know. And then they do all of these experiments on the human genome. They do all of this genetic testing and genetics experiments, evolutionary experiments. They do experiments on the human genome. They do eugenics. They do eugenics. And sometimes you'll be walking down the streets of Canada and you will see humans that are like super soldiers. Like it's as if they were genetically engineered through eugenics. Because these men, these Canadian men, are like tall and like muscular, and it's as if they were like, they look like they're super soldiers, honestly. They look like they were genetically engineered through a top secret Canadian eugenics program. And it's not just that, it's not just eugenics. They probably do a lot of other kind of testing on people, innocent people, and they try to justify it saying, oh, Canadians, they're just so curious people. Canadian scientists are so curious and they got to know everything about everything. And that's why they're doing all of these genetic testing and testing on the human genome and genetically modified foods and Monsanto and all of this stuff. So Canada has its own secrets. I've never denied that Canada is not perfect. Of course, no country is perfect. Russia's not perfect. Australia's not perfect. China's not perfect. France is not perfect. Germany's not perfect. And especially Australia is not perfect. But what I do know is all of these countries, in comparison to the United States, if any country is the most not perfect country, it would be the United States. So for the United States to say that they want to make Canada the 51st state, if you live, there's an expression in English, right? There's an expression in English. People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And America, you live in a big, giant glass house. And when America, the United States of America, lives in a big, giant glass house, and they want to throw stones, figuratively speaking, at Canada, when America and at France and the French president and France, which by the way, France is a huge ally of Canada. I mean, half of Canada speaks French. Obviously, people know half of Canada speaks French. But also, what people may or may not know is France and Canada are major allies. So when the United States of America attacks France, exposes France, finds out dirty secrets about France, exposes France, and humiliates France, causes a regime change in France, because that's effectively what the United States has done, is doing. They are causing a regime change. And who likes to cause regime changes? The CIA. The CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, is famous for causing regime changes in other countries and trying to overthrow governments. They did it in the Middle East. The American CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, did it in the Middle East. They overthrew countries in the Middle East and had regime changes. And now, do you not think that the United States government, the CIA, whoever, but it's definitely come from America. I mean, Candace Owens did a whole video series where she's exposing the French president's wife for being a man. It's literally coming straight from an American social media influencer, and not just a random one. Like Candace Owens is a big one. She's a huge Canadian American. Candace Owens is a huge American social media influencer, and she is exposing the French president's wife as a man. And you don't think that that's going to have a big impact on French elections? You don't think it's going to cause a major regime change in France? Of course, it's going to cause a regime change in France. It's going to have a huge impact on French elections when the French voters find out that the French president's wife is a man. And it's not necessarily the fact that it's a man, it's the fact that he lied about it. Because especially what French people don't like is liars. And of course, every culture doesn't like liars. Canadians, we don't like when people lie to us. Americans don't like liars either, of course. Australians don't like to be lied to. But especially in French culture, they especially don't like when politicians lie. So if anything is going to be a detriment to the in the next French elections, it's going to be the fact that he lied about it. Not so much that he was married a man, a woman that is actually a man. It's the fact that the French president lied about it is what's going to be a detriment in the next French elections, which will surely cause a regime change in France. And the CIA, the American government, they are famous. It's their motive, it's in their DNA, it's what they do. They are famous, the American government, the CIA, for causing regime changes and trying to overthrow other countries around the world. Um, and they got pretty close in Russia too with Alexei Navalny, because Alexei Navalny was clearly a pro-American Russian politician. So the United States government, the CIA, are famous for trying to overthrow countries and do regime changes. And Candace Owens, who suddenly is like has dirt on an American, no, she has dirt on a woman, the wife of a French president in France. Candace Owens, is she just a mere American social media influencer? Because I'm gonna tell you something, Candace Owens, you single-handedly exposed with your video series exposing the French president's wife being a man. You are single-handedly the driving force, the main person behind causing now the next French elections to be uh, totally different. A regime change in France. You're going to cause a regime change in France. The French voters are probably not going to vote they're probably going to vote differently. I don't know for sure how the French voters are going to vote in the next election, but they're definitely going to vote differently with this new information. With this new piece of information that the French president lied about his wife being a man, this is totally going to have a major impact on French elections. And Candace Owens, if you don't already work for the CIA, if you're not an agent of influence, a social media influencer, agent of influence who already works for the CIA, you should work for the CIA because you're good. You are good, Candace Owens. Give that woman the job. If Candace Owens isn't already the head of the CIA, the head of the Central Intelligence Agency, give that woman the job. She's good. Because she, with her video series exposing the French president's wife as a man, she is now totally changing and affecting and meddling in French politics, which will probably cause a regime change in France. And who is famous for causing regime changes? Who is famous for doing covert operations to cause regime changes and overthrow governments in other countries? The CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. The United States government, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, is famous for causing regime changes and doing covert operations to overthrow other governments and meddle in their elections. So Candace Owens, you are good. You are fabulous, actually. Like, you are amazing. If you don't already work for the Central Intelligence Agency, give that woman the job. Even make her the head of the CIA, because she is single-handedly the main person with her entire video series in which she announced, which I was kind of shocked. when Candace Owens, an American social media influencer from America, announced that she had major dirt on a wife of a French president, a wife of the French president in France, all the way halfway across the world. And then she announces she has this whole video series where she's exposing the French wife as a man, the French president's wife as a man. Oh, yeah, you better believe that will cause a major regime change in France and overthrow the French government. Likely overthrow the French government when the French voters have this new piece of information. So Candace Owens, if you don't already work for the CIA, you should, because you're good. You are good. And the CIA would be stupid not to hire you. The CIA would be stupid not to hire Candace Owens and make her one of their agents of influence, social media agents of influence. The CIA would be stupid not to hire Candace Owens. And effectively, Candace Owens is doing a better job than the CIA, you could even say. I mean, we don't fully know for sure everything the CIA is doing because they're not always open about their operations. Obviously, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, doesn't like tell everyone everything, all their operations that they're doing, all their covert operations where they're trying to overthrow governments and cause regime changes in other countries. Obviously, the CIA is not so open about it. They were open about the fact, Trump and the United States of America, and I guess you would say the CIA, because they all work together, and the United States government, they were open about the fact that they wanted to make Canada the 51st state. That they were open about. They definitely were open about the fact. I mean, America, the United States government, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, because they all work together, right? So they're all, I'm saying them as one because they all work together. The CIA works with Trump, the FBI works with the CIA. They all work together. They all work as a team, right? They all work as a team. The United States government, they're all a team. And they definitely were open about the fact that they wanted to cause a regime change in Canada, which effectively, if you're going to make Canada the 51st state, you're effectively doing a regime change in Canada as well, not just France, but also in Canada. Because if you are a world power, a superpower like the United States of America, and you suddenly want to make Canada the 51st state, you are effectively would be doing a regime change of Canada in Canada. So you were open about that regime change. You weren't so open about the regime, or the obvious regime change, in my opinion, is obvious about the one you're trying to do in France right now. Which, by the way, France, like I said, is a major ally of Canada. Canada and France are huge allies. Way more than Canada was ever an ally of the United States. And how could we really be a true ally of the United States when the United States is threatening to make Canada the 51st state? The United States is threatening to take Canada over. Is that what you do to your ally? You threaten to take them over? You threaten to do a regime change in their country, United States of America? Is that how you treat your allies? Because when you have friends like that, who needs enemies? Really? Is that how you treat your ally, the United States of America? You threaten to take them over, make them the 51st state, and cause a regime change in their country? When you have friends like that, who needs enemies? So of course now Canada and France and Germany and Russia, every country, they have their own agents of influence, right? Candace Owens, who very well, just as much Candace Owens suspected that Bridget Macron was a man, which, I mean, no one's disagreeing with her there. I mean, we're not disagreeing that she looks like a dude. Like, she does. The Bridget Macron, she does look like a man. She does. No one's denying that. But what we're saying is that obviously this is part of some covert operations to cause a regime change in France. And so just as much as Candace Owens had her own suspicions, which by the way, she is a phenomenal CIA agent if she is one. And if she's not one, she should be. Because the CIA would be crazy not would be stupid not to hire her. She's a phenomenal social media expert. She's a phenomenal agent of influence, and she's phenomenal at what she does. So the CIA should hire her if they haven't already. But what I'm saying is that just as much Candace Owens is able to suspect and make all of these accusations and digging into the French president's wife. Well, I can also look at Candace Owens and say, not only do I think you work for the Central Intelligence Agency and you are currently doing a covert operation to cause a regime change in France, but also Candace Owens, I can also say this. Candace Owens, I don't know why you have such a strong interest in France when currently, right now, given what's happening with Pam Bondi, and we know, Canada knows, and Russia knows, and Germany knows, and France knows that Candace Owens, especially if you do work for the CIA, you have very special access to a lot of key documents that could be detrimental if released. And so, Candace Owens, if you do work for the CIA and if you are an agent of influence, then my question is, why are you not, like, why aren't you also exposing the United States secrets? Because we know you have access to them. I mean, Canada knows, United States, I mean, everyone knows. Russia knows, France knows, Germany knows. We know that any CIA officer, any CIA agent, anyone who works for the CIA, and it's very likely that Candace Owens works for the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. Not only then would she have secrets about the French president's wife, but Candace Owens, you for sure then, if you work for the CIA, which you probably do, would have secrets about your own American government, United States government. So why aren't you releasing those secrets? Why are you being very selective and only releasing the secrets about the French president's wife and maybe about other countries like Germany and Poland and Russia and China, but you're not also turning around and releasing American government secrets, all of America's secrets, which you definitely, as a CIA agent, as a CIA officer, if you are one, which you probably are, because you're phenomenal at what you do, and if the CIA would be crazy not to hire you, the CIA would be stupid not to hire you. You're great at what you do. You'd be perfect to work for the CIA. The CIA should hire you. Why aren't you now, if you are a CIA agent, which you probably are, why aren't you exposing your own government, the United States government, which people know you probably, if you work for the CIA, you must have access to those special documents, secrets, cover-ups, stuff that the American people don't know, that the American people should know. You probably have a lot of access to information that could be released about your own United States government. And like I said, those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And the United States lives in a huge glass house. And they are throwing, figuratively, they're throwing stones at France, they're throwing stones at Canada, they're throwing stones at Russia, they're throwing stones at China, figuratively. And Candace Owens, since metaphorically, figuratively speaking, the United States lives in a huge glass house, why don't you also, especially if you are a CIA agent, which you probably are, why aren't you exposing the secrets from your own American government? And yes, Canada and Germany and France and all these other countries, we also have operatives. We have intelligence operatives as well. Canada, of course, has CSIS, which is the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. They are CSIS operatives. There's probably CSIS operatives. There's probably Canadian Security Intelligence Service operatives all across America right now, just crawling around America. And there's, of course, there's Russian ones as well. The FSB from the FSB, the Federalne Служба безопасности, the Federal Security Service. There's probably Russian FSB agents as well, everywhere. And all these countries, we have our own social media experts. We have our own agents of influence. We have our own intelligence operatives. And now my question, I wonder, that's the next question is, what are they going to do? What are Canada's social media experts? What are Canada's agents of influence? What are Canada's CSIS agents going to do? The Canadian Security Intelligence Service agents. How are they going to respond to Trump's threats to make Canada the 51st state? How is CSIS and Canada's agents of influence, how are they going to respond? What are they going to do to respond to Trump's threats to make Canada the 51st state, to put tariffs on Canada? What is France's social media experts, France's agents of influence, France's the intelligence operatives who work for the DGSE in France, because France, their intelligence agency, the acronym, I can't speak French, but in France, the acronym for their intelligence agency is the DGSE. And what are the DGSE operatives going to do? How are they going to retaliate and respond to Trump and the CIA in America exposing all of France's dirty secrets? How is Germany going to respond? How is Russia and China going to respond? So, Candace Owens, if you do have access to severe damaging dirt and secrets about the American government, that especially the American people should know, Candace Owens, if you do have access to those secrets, I would release them if I were you. And I would do it now, very soon, before you know what goes down, before the next election is what I'm saying. Before the next election, way before the next American election, Candace Owens, if you do have access to top secret information, American secrets that the American people ought to know, should know, have a right to know, then Candace Owens, if you are a CIA agent, which you probably are, you should release those secrets. You really should. Because how can you justify releasing the dirty, deep, dark secrets about France, about the French president's wife being a man, about Germany, about Russia, about China, about Australia? But Candace Owens, you have access to your own American secrets, deep, deep, dark, dirty American secrets, and Candace Owens, but you're being selective and not releasing those secrets. Oh, you're sabotaging and causing regime changes in France and Australia. Hypothetically, if you are a CIA agent, which a lot of people suspect you are causing regime changes in France and Germany and Australia, hypothetically speaking, but you're not going to expose America's own dirty laundry and secrets. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't seem like justice to me. That seems like someone who's only doing things for a very specific political gain. If it's all about exposing the truth, if you're so big on exposing the truth, and it's all about exposing the truth, then why won't you expose the truth about your own American government, which I'm sure Canada has its own dossier full of American secrets. I'm sure the CSIS, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, I'm sure they have a lot of damaging secrets that they could release about your government, the United States of America, and your CIA. But of course, Canada and CSIS, they are how you know they are not as they don't want to sink to your level, to the CIA's level, not your level. Because Candace Owens, like you are a great social media influencer. You're very beautiful. You're a wonderful person, but you're kind of being selective right now. If you work for the CIA and you do have access to these damaging American secrets, and you're suddenly in the mood to expose secrets for the sake of exposing the truth, then why are you only doing it for France, Germany, right? All these countries. Why not also do it for the United States government, which I'm sure has probably the most deep, damaging, dark secrets of all. Of all the countries around the world, I'm sure the number one superpower, the United States of America, has the most damaging, deep, dark secrets that you could imagine. So, Candace Owens, I suggest you be fair, and if you're in the mode of exposing everyone's secrets, all of these president's secrets, the German president's secrets, the French president's secrets, Australian president's secrets, the China president's secrets, then Candace Owens, I think you should be fair and also expose the United States of America's secrets as well. So